When you face moments that feel overwhelming, impossible, or too heavy to carry, it's easy to assume that the situation is beyond repair. You look at the facts, the limitations, the deadlines, the lack of resources, and you think there is no way out of this. But what you must understand is that God is not restricted to the boundaries that restrict you. He does not operate inside the walls of your limitations. He does his greatest work in the places where your strength collapses. When you come to the end of yourself, you come to the beginning of him. The impossible is not a barrier to him. It is an invitation for him to reveal his power. Where human hands fail, his hands take over. Where human reasoning stops, divine intervention begins. Sometimes God intentionally allows you to face situations that are beyond your control so that you are positioned to witness his ability. If everything in your life could be handled through your own talent, intelligence, or effort, you would never know the depths of his power. But when you step into a place where you can't fix it, can't change it, can't undo it, and can't figure it out, that's where God shows you that he is not limited by your limitations. He is not intimidated by the size of your problem, the weight of your burden, or the impossibility of your circumstance. What makes you tremble does not shake him. What overwhelms you is still under his authority. The things you interpret as barriers are often the exact places where God plans to show up. You may think the door is shut too tightly, but God does not need a door. He can build a new entrance. You may believe the resources are too few, but God can multiply what seems insufficient. You may believe the timing is too late, but God can step into any moment and shift the entire outcome. The impossible only appears impossible from the viewpoint of human limitation. But when seen from the perspective of divine capability, the impossible becomes the stage for God's glory. This is why you must stop measuring your future based on your current strength. Your strength fluctuates, but his does not. Your resources run out, but his do not. Your understanding is limited, but his is boundless. You cannot evaluate a situation based solely on what you feel or what you see. God sees dimensions of your life that your eyes cannot reach. He sees timelines you haven't lived yet and outcomes you haven't imagined yet. And he is working from a place of total authority. The very thing you think disqualifies you from a miracle might be the very thing God uses to bring one forth. When God moves, he does not need the approval of the system, the support of people, or the permission of circumstances. He bypasses natural limitations because he is supernatural. He breaks rules that were meant to keep you bound. He overrides expectations that were built to keep you restricted. He steps into moments that human logic says cannot be changed, and he transforms them. The impossible becomes the testimony, the miracle becomes the proof, and your weakness becomes the doorway through which his strength is revealed. So when you find yourself facing something that looks too big, too broken, or too far gone, don't crumble under the weight of it. Instead, see it as the moment where God is preparing to demonstrate that what is impossible for you is still completely possible for him. There are seasons in life when waiting feels like the hardest assignment you've ever been given. You pray, you believe, you fast, You push, but nothing seems to shift on the surface. It can feel like God is silent, like your prayers are bouncing off the walls, like the promise is taking too long and the breakthrough is nowhere in sight. But what you must understand is that delay is never denial when God is involved. Every delay is part of a divine strategy. Every battle, every struggle, every period of waiting is quietly preparing the atmosphere for what God is about to release in your life. You are not stuck. You are being positioned. You are not forgotten. You are being developed. There are pieces moving in the unseen that will one day make sense in the visible. Sometimes the warfare increases right before the breakthrough because the enemy can sense what God is about to do. The pressure intensifies, the attacks multiply, the discouragement deepens, not because God is absent, but because something is shifting. The enemy does not fight where there is nothing valuable. He fights where there is purpose. He fights where there is destiny. He fights where he senses something divine is on the way. And the battles you've been fighting lately are not indicators that you're losing. They are signs that something is about to break open. The enemy is trying to stop what he already knows. He cannot control. There are moments when God holds back the answer because he is aligning everything perfectly. You may not see the connections being made, the hearts being prepared, the doors being opened, the obstacles being removed, but heaven is busy on your behalf. God is orchestrating details you didn't even know were required. He is arranging people you haven't met yet, preparing opportunities you haven't seen yet, and creating solutions you didn't even know you needed. What feels like a delay is actually divine coordination. What feels like a setback is often a setup for something bigger than you asked for. The waiting season also shapes you. It builds patience, faith, resilience, and spiritual maturity. It teaches you how to trust God when nothing is happening. It trains you to stand firm when everything in you wants to give up. The pain you felt during the waiting was not wasted. The tears you cried were not ignored. The confusion you walked through was not pointless. God was strengthening the very parts of you that needed to be ready for the miracle you've been praying for. If he gave it to you too early, you wouldn't have the endurance, wisdom, or character to sustain it. The battle is not meant to break you, it is meant to prepare you. Your breakthrough requires timing. Your miracle requires positioning. Your promise requires preparation. What you thought was God holding out on you was actually God holding you in place until everything was aligned for your good. So when it feels like nothing is moving, remember that God is moving the things you cannot see. When it feels like the battle is too intense, remember that the pressure is proof that something powerful is coming. And when it feels like you've been waiting too long, remember that God is setting you up for something that will be worth every delay, every tear, and every fight. There will be moments in your life when everything around you seems to scream that it is impossible. The reports, the statistics, the opinions of people, the timing, the resources, all of it will point to the same conclusion. It can't happen, but the mistake we often make is assuming that God needs favorable conditions to move. God does not wait for things to look possible before he acts. He does not require human approval, predictable timing, or logical circumstances in order to fulfill his word. His power stands above every limitation, and his timing operates outside the boundaries that confine your understanding. When God decides to move, nothing in heaven, on earth, or beneath the earth can slow him down. People will measure your situation based on what they can see, but God measures it based on what he has already decreed. He does not check with your circumstances before he blesses you. He does not consult with the economy before he promotes you. He does not ask permission from opposition before he opens a door for you. When God speaks a word over your life, every natural law must bow to that word. He overrides medical timelines, financial limitations, emotional exhaustion, and the predictions of experts. What seems final to man is still flexible in the hands of God. You may feel like you're running out of time, but God is never late. You may feel like the window of opportunity has closed, but God creates windows where none existed. You may feel like the door has been shut permanently, but God can unlock any door without needing a key. His timing is perfect, not because it aligns with your expectation, but because it aligns with your destiny. When he moves on your behalf, he does so with precision. He sets things in order in ways you could never orchestrate on your own. And when his moment arrives, the shift will be undeniable. God often waits until circumstances look impossible so that when he acts, there will be no question about who made it happen. If the situation looked easy, you might give credit to luck, timing, or your abilities. But when the odds are stacked against you, when the door is sealed shut, the deadline has passed, and the resources are gone, that's when God loves to step in. He wants you to see that his power is not limited by reality. His power transforms reality. What others dismissed as impossible becomes the very platform where God displays his greatness in your life. This is why you cannot panic when circumstances look unfavorable. You cannot assume God has abandoned you just because the situation appears hopeless. Sometimes God waits until the last moment to show you his glory. Sometimes he allows the battle to intensify so that you will recognize his authority when he intervenes. Sometimes he lets the conditions get worse so that the miracle will stand out even brighter. So even when everything around you says no, remember that God's timing and God's power speak louder than your circumstances. What looks unmovable to you is movable to him. What looks impossible to you is completely possible to him. And when he chooses to move, nothing can stop him. There are seasons when life feels like it is working against you, when every step forward seems to come with resistance, and every attempt to rise feels weighed down by circumstances you didn't choose. You may look at the storms you've endured and wonder why they had to happen. You may look at the losses you've experienced and question if they were necessary. You may replay the moments that broke you and ask God why he allowed such pain. But what you must understand is that nothing you went through was wasted. The struggles you faced were never meant to destroy you. They were meant to shape you. What felt like breaking was actually building. What felt like the end was actually preparation for a beginning you couldn't see yet. Every tear you cried carried purpose. Every disappointment redirected your steps. Every betrayal reminded you to protect your heart. Every closed door strengthened your discernment. Every setback deepened your resilience. You were not being punished, you were being prepared. The version of you that exists today would not have emerged without the pressure you faced. Pressure forms diamonds, fire purifies gold, and storms strengthen roots. Your trials were doing something in you even when you didn't realize it. It is often through hardship that God develops the qualities you will need to sustain the blessing He is preparing for you. You cannot carry a big destiny with small character. You cannot handle great responsibility with weak discipline. You cannot walk into a new level with an old mindset. So God uses the challenges to stretch you, the disappointments to refine you, and the pain to mature you. What you thought was an attack was actually an assignment. What you thought was the enemy tearing you apart was God building you up. He was strengthening your endurance, sharpening your focus, and teaching you how to stand even when the wind blows hardest. Sometimes God allows certain things to be stripped away so that you will stop depending on what cannot sustain you. You learned who really supports you when things fell apart. You discovered strength you didn't know you had when circumstances forced you to grow. You realized what was temporary and what was eternal when life pushed you to your limits. These lessons were not comfortable, but they were necessary. Without them, you would walk into your future unprepared, unbalanced, and unequipped for what is coming. And even though the process hurt, it positioned you, it molded you into someone who can now handle what once would have overwhelmed you. It taught you how to pray deeper, believe harder, and fight stronger. It made you more compassionate, more aware, more discerning, and more spiritually grounded. God was not trying to break you. He was trying to build you into someone who could carry the weight of what He is about to release. So don't despise the struggle. Don't curse the process. Don't regret the journey. You were being conditioned, strengthened, and transformed. Everything you endured was shaping you for the very blessings, breakthroughs, and responsibilities that are on their way. You are stronger now, wiser now, and more prepared now because the struggle didn't defeat you. It developed you. There are moments in life when you look around and nothing seems to be changing. You pray and nothing shifts. You believe and nothing moves. You speak faith, but still face the same mountain every morning. It can make you question whether God is doing anything at all. But what you must understand is that God often works in the unseen long before anything becomes visible to you. Just because you can't trace His hand doesn't mean He isn't working. God does some of his greatest miracles behind the curtain, in the silence, in the darkness, and in the places where your natural eyes cannot go. Breakthrough rarely begins on the surface. It starts in the spiritual realm where God moves, arranges, and orchestrates things beyond your understanding. You don't always feel the shift when it starts. Sometimes God is moving pieces you didn't even know existed. He's touching hearts you haven't met yet. He's influencing decisions in rooms you've never entered. He's aligning circumstances you never thought would line up. You might think you're waiting on God, But sometimes God is positioning everything around you so that when He opens the door, it stays open. He isn't just preparing the blessing, He's preparing the environment to sustain it. The silence is not inactivity. The silence is strategy. When God works behind the scenes, He often shields you from things you're not ready for. There are connections you prayed for that would have hurt you if they arrived too early. There are opportunities that you wanted but would have overwhelmed you in the season you were in. There are assignments that would have drained you if they came before your character was ready to carry them. So God hides the process while He shapes you, molds you, strengthens you, and clears the path. What you interpret as a delay is often divine protection. What you think is silence might actually be God removing obstacles that you don't even know are there. Sometimes the very things that look like they're working against you are actually working for you. Closed doors feel painful in the moment, but they are often the greatest blessings in disguise. A detour can save you from a disaster you didn't see coming. A disappointment can lead you to a better destination than you planned. A broken plan can lead you into God's perfect plan. But you only see the fullness of it after the breakthrough comes to light. Until then, it looks like nothing is happening when in reality everything is happening. And this is why you must not rely on what you see. Vision through natural eyes can be deceiving. Faith is trusting that something is shifting even when everything looks still. Faith is believing that God is moving even when the evidence hasn't surfaced yet. Faith is knowing that the spiritual realm is active even when the physical realm seems unchanged. God never stops working on your behalf. Even in the moments when you feel forgotten or overlooked, heaven is still in motion. Angels are still being assigned. Doors are still being prepared. Paths are still being cleared. So while you wait, don't mistake the lack of visible progress for the absence of God. The shift is happening. The breakthrough is forming. The pieces are falling into place. And soon, what was hidden will be revealed. What was delayed will be delivered. What was impossible will become undeniable. The unseen work of God is moving you closer to your moment of manifestation. You are stepping into a moment where everything you've been praying for, believing for, fighting for, and waiting for is coming into alignment. This is not a small shift, not a temporary change, not a moment that passes quickly. This is a season of transformation where God takes what you thought was broken beyond repair and turns it into something beautiful, strong, and undeniable. You have endured seasons where nothing made sense, where you felt like your life paused while others moved forward, where your faith was tested almost to the breaking point. But now everything you went through is about to collide with everything God promised. This is the moment where His word becomes your reality. You will not come out of this season the same way you went into it. God is not interested in giving you a small touch or a partial breakthrough. He is about to transform areas of your life that you thought would never change. Things that you struggled with for years will suddenly lose their grip. Doors that were locked for decades will swing open with ease. Opportunities you once thought were out of reach will come searching for you. The transformation will not just happen around you, it will happen in you. Your mindset, your confidence, your spiritual strength, your vision, your capacity, all of it will elevate to match the level of the blessing He is releasing. This is the season where prayers turn into praise reports, where waiting turns into walking in fulfillment, where the thing you carried in faith finally becomes something you can see with your eyes and touch with your hands. God is about to exceed your expectations. He is not only going to meet your needs, He is going to overflow in ways that remind you that He is still the God of abundance, the God of surprises, the God who does exceedingly and abundantly above all you could ask or think. You will look back on this season and realize that what felt delayed was actually being perfected. There are some blessings that require maturity to maintain, and now you are ready. You're stronger than you think, wiser than you know, more prepared than you realize. God didn't bring you through the fire just to return you to normal. He brought you through the fire to promote you, elevate you, and reveal the glory He placed inside you. You didn't survive the storm just to go back to the way things were. You survived because God has something new for you, something bigger, something better, something beyond what you imagine. The transformation you're stepping into is evidence that your survival has meaning. Everything that once hindered you is losing its authority. The fear, the doubt, the insecurity, the shame, the heaviness, none of it can follow you into this new season. God is lifting old burdens, breaking old cycles, and releasing fresh anointing, fresh strength, and fresh clarity. What was once a constant struggle will become a place of victory. What used to intimidate you will become the very thing you conquer. What seemed too big will soon feel like it was never a challenge at all, because God has equipped you to rise above it. Get ready to walk into answered prayers, restored relationships, renewed opportunities, unexpected favor, divine connections, supernatural provision, and breakthroughs that make people look at your life and say, only God could have done that. This is your season of fulfillment. This is your season of transformation. What was once impossible is about to become your undeniable reality.